Hey folks, I just spent the last couple of days developing a new app, and I used AI to help me. And I wanted to share my story and some lessons learned. Let's see here. First of all, let's talk about what the app is and see if that gets you interested. Right now, what you're looking at is my app running, okay? Normally, the webcam is over down there. Normally, you'd see my face down there. But because my app uses the webcam to take a photo, right now, my app is hogging up the webcam. So anyways, the way the reason for the app is I am about to start a new school year, and I'm going to have 180 new students. And I like to memorize their names as quickly as possible. I'd like to have all of their names memorized after the first day or two of classes. And I'll have 180 students. So anyways, I over the years, I've tried a number of techniques to try to memorize all these kids' names, using name badges, using name tents on the desks, and a variety of techniques. I decided that I wanted to use technology to improve my ability to memorize names quickly. So I had this idea that I wanted to use flashcards to remember all the students' names, to be able to see their face and recognize their names. And I was thinking about various apps that already exist that could do the job. There's an old flashcard app known as Quizlet. And then there's some newer versions of flashcard apps that are out there. But when I went to look at them, none of them really met all my criteria. I wanted something where not only could I have a flashcard, but I didn't want to have to create the flashcards. I wanted every individual student to create their own flashcard. And so I went to Google Gemini, which that is one AI engine of many. You may have heard of ChatGPT. Google Gemini is another AI engine like ChatGPT. And I went to Google Gemini and I said, hey, what would be the best way to develop this flashcard app for memorizing new students? And Gemini said, hey, you could use some existing apps like Quizlet or something else, maybe even Google Forms. But Gemini said, any of those methods, it's still going to require extra work, and it's not going to do exactly what you want. Why don't we just create a new app from scratch? Eureka! And an idea was born. So I used to be a web developer. I used to be a coder, and I still write code, but now I'm a full-time math teacher. And I haven't really created any extensive applications for a long period of time. So I thought, what the heck? Google Gemini, let's go for it. Let's try to make an app that can collect all the student information and then make it into flashcards. And I have to tell you this, it was pretty cool. What happened was Gemini came up with the initial batch of code and had the app almost doing exactly what I wanted to in about 10 minutes. That's the exciting part of this. And also the scary part, because why do we need programmers if AI can just write the software just come up with an idea and the software just writes the app for you? Well, here's the other side of the coin. In order to get the app to do everything that I wanted, to get all the details nailed down, I had to spend about 2 full days. I mean, seriously, about 16 hours of my time to really nail down every little detail. And I'll tell you a little bit about that story if you're interested. But first, let me demo the app for you. So the app that I finally came up with is it's in 2 parts. There's a student entry portion of the app. Actually, there's a student entry app. and then I have a separate app to browse the flashcards. You're looking at the student entry app. If I want to, what I can do is I can provide the web address to this app. This is available on the World Wide Web, and if I give that to students in class, they can then go ahead and press this button and take a photo. And then, of course, we see the preview of the photo. And then they can put their given name. Who knows? Let's put something like, how about Santa Claus? It's almost that time of year, right? And I pre-filled this list with the periods that I have, the class periods. So we're going to put in class period 4. And I believe that is my computer programming class. And then by the way, let's see, if I choose statistics, it asks me, it says, tell me a little bit about your experience with math class. If I choose computer programming, it says, how much experience do you have with computer programming? Nice little detail, you know? And by the way, sorry I'm way up here right now, but as I scroll the page, my app is putting the photo a little higher. Let's see here. So anyways, I have a lot of experience in computer programming, and one fun fact about me, I like playing pickleball. Now, I'm not that great at it, but I'm not terrible, and I'm definitely getting better. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit more and go ahead and submit profile. And when I do, it tells me the profile was submitted successfully. And then I can go to so after a student submits that profile, I can then go to the flashcard portion of the app, and I believe I'm going to have to reload the page so that the new flashcard gets loaded. There it is. That's the one we just added. And check this out. If I click on the photo, it flips around and I see the other side of the flashcard, and I can see the student's preferred name, what they want to be called, and their given name, and the period, and the class, and the fun fact about them, and some little note about their experience in computer programming class. And if I want, I can filter by period. So I think period 1 is statistics. So I have several statistics cards that I've entered in here. There you go. And at any point, if I'm looking at a card and it looks like there's something wrong, or I want a student to redo it, I can just hit delete card and that card just goes away. And if I want, I can look at all the cards and go through. Now, of course, the goal for me is to try to recognize the student's face and guess their name, and then verify whether I got their name correct. Okay, so that is the gist of the app that I wanted to create, and it is done. It is, as you can see, it is working, and really technically it's 2 separate apps. And by the way, you may have noticed that I have disappeared from the screen. Let's see, there we go, I'm back again. Okay, so anyways, as long as the app is running, at least this one, it's kind of hogging the webcam. I'm going to see if I can pause the video and then switch over. I'm going to go away from the app and talk a little bit about what it took to create the app, if you're interested. And so I'll pick up with that in just a minute. And if you're not interested, thank you for watching the video so far. Okay, so I was able to get the webcam to work again, so here I am. Hi. And I wanted to walk you through some of what I went through in order to develop this app. First of all, I went into Google Gemini, and it looks like my school provides an account for Google Gemini, so I was able to spend 2 full days prompting Gemini to get the job done. I don't know if you're an ordinary user. At some point, it may just say, I cannot work on this particular task any longer. I'm not sure. But anyways, with my school account, I was able to just keep going and going and going and going and pushing Gemini to nail down the details. But let's start at the beginning. So what was my initial prompt? Okay, you can see it there on the screen. I could use some help with an idea that I have. I'm a high school math teacher and I want to memorize all my students' names. I'd like to create a website, and I'm thinking, and I even tell it I was thinking of how I'd like to do the development. I know of a website called Anvil where I can create the website using Python code, and I've been writing a lot of code in Python, and I find it to be rather straightforward. So I asked Gemini, and then here's Gemini's response. That sounds like a great idea for a classroom tool. Using photos and facts to memorize your students, great idea. So Gemini then says, since I can't directly create a site using the Anvil framework, I've created a complete self-contained web application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The app, I've used Tailwind CSS for the styling to ensure it looks clean and works great on both phones and computers. For the database, I've integrated Google Firestore. So what Gemini is telling me is, after I made the request, it decided not to take my advice about Anvil, and it just went and created the app for me. That's it. Done. It's already done. Okay, so, wow. So anyways, here's the code for the web app. You can save it in an HTML file and open it in a modern browser. This draft provides a full working application that you can use right away. Not bad, eh? And I'm telling, like I say, this took less. Well, this was almost instant. Okay, so if I was able to accept exactly what it did, just like that, it was done. No more work was required. I don't know what happens if I click open this right now. I'm hoping that it shows you the code, but it may have a problem with the webcam. Let me see what happens. So far, it's doing what I wanted to. Okay, so I got to give it permission to access the camera. For now, I'm going to say, no, you can't. And then there's an error message, and I'll dismiss that. So this was the beginning of the program, and I don't want to show you too much of it. But what I did want to show you, what's kind of neat, is that after, for some reason, we have scrolled way, way down. Oh, geez. Wow. Okay. I think what's happened is when I clicked on opening that code, it went, oh, there we go. Okay, good. It scrolled all the way down to the bottom of our conversation. So anyways, I just scrolled back up, and here's where it says, I already created an app for you. And I wanted to click on the open button for you so you could see that after my initial prompt, boom, essentially a working application that did most of what I wanted was actually completed and available. Now, a couple of problems. Why did I need to spend 2 days after that nailing down the details? Well, one problem is that the code that they wrote was designed to operate on my local computer, and I wanted to make this available to my students who would be in my classroom. So there was also other things too. I wanted to make it so the student entry form was separate from the flashcards app, and there was some details along the way where the app didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, and a lot of the 2 days of work that I put in with Gemini was because Gemini actually made a lot of mistakes, and I have to admit, I made a bunch of mistakes too. So between the mistakes that Gemini was making and the mistakes that I was making, there was a lot of push. How do you call it? Push and take, push and shove, shove and take. There was a lot of push and take. Okay, and give and take. Thank you. There was a lot of give and take. Okay, there was Gemini. There was me asking for another detail to be tweaked, and then there was Gemini trying to add that new feature, and then sometimes doing it in a way that broke something. So, for instance, here is something that was very common. And let me go ahead and get rid of this code or the app, because you kind of already saw it running. So I'm just going to say goodbye. And we're going to get back to just me communicating with the Gemini AI. So, and you can see here, you can see that my initial response was, wow, that was amazing. I would definitely like to add more features. I would like to add features that allow me to practice learning the names and faces, sort of like a flashcard app. I want to be able to go through the photos. Let's see here. And like one of the things I wanted was I wanted to be able to filter the flashcards by period number. And so Gemini and I had to go back and forth. So anyways, you can see that there's this long list of Gemini, me asking something, Gemini providing something, me asking for something else, Gemini providing for something else. Early on in the app development, when it would start up, that error message would appear every single time, and it appeared in such a way where you could not even see that there was a close button somewhere in the error message. It was like a transparent window. And you had to kind of hunt for the close button, and then if you clicked it, then you could go and use the app. Well, that alone took probably an hour. I don't even know how much time we spent, but it took many iterations of me going back and forth telling Gemini, hey, you've still got an error message that's covering the whole screen, and I can't even find out where to hit the close button. Can you help me get rid of it? That took a lot of going back and forth to fix. And of course, there was some technical reasons why it was working that way. This is a rather complicated application that we created. Let me show you a few things about elements of the app that were necessary to make it so that this thing is available to people on the web. So let's go and take a look at the actual development environment. So one of the things I had to do is I had to take the code that was given to me by Gemini. It was basically HTML with JavaScript code embedded in it. I had to take the code and I had to create what is known as a GitHub repository. Don't worry about the name. It's just a thing. It's a place to store code on the internet. And I did, and I put the code up there. Then I also had to create the database, the Google Firebase database. So that had to be created, and the database had to be formed with all the correct fields. And you can kind of see here class name, experience, fun fact, given name, period, etc. So anyways, a database was I think Gemini helped me to create it. I can't remember. Maybe Gemini may have created the database for me. That is a possibility. And then I just used it as is. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Gemini and I went through and did some tweaks to use it. And then the other thing was, Gemini said, in order to make this code available to people on the internet, I had to set up a new account with a website called Netlify. So I'll try to get back to the Netlify homepage. And do they have a homepage that I can show you? They're sure not making it easy. Okay, so anyways, let me see if I can just do this by manually typing netlify.com. So there's Netlify. Publish your ideas to the web. Okay, well, sure enough, I did. And with the help of Gemini, of course. So anyways, in Netlify, I created two projects. Well, I did them one at a time, but I created the student entry project and then the student flashcards project. And you can see there's a third project in here. Now that I'm adding I decided to add some additional features to the flashcards app. And in order to do that, I wanted to create a brand new app so that I didn't go and break the stuff that was already working. So anyways, in Netlify, I went to create a new project. And what you do is you say import an existing project. And I chose to import my project from GitHub. And so that is how I ended up with my own Netlify projects. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is I just want to give you a high-level overview of some of the stuff that was necessary in order to deploy a working web app, that's available to the people that I desire. So anyways, So Netlify was required to do the hosting. And by the way, the Netlify account didn't cost me anything. Apparently, if you need more features or more bandwidth, like if there's going to be high usage on this site, then you got to pay like $20 a month. But for right now, it did not cost me anything to get this stuff done. So right now, Netlify is hosting 3 apps for me. Student Entry, Student Flashcards, and Student Flashcards Beta. And all of those are based on code that I have written at the website called GitHub. They are all stored in repositories. And then all of the data from my apps, from the flashcard app, is all stored in Google Firebase database, an online web database. And so that's kind of the gist of it. Okay, so I think that is most of what I wanted to convey. Let me think for a minute if there's anything else. I want to share maybe a few lessons learned about the going back and forth in just a sec. Okay, I'm going to try to finish this up pretty quickly. You've already been watching this video for 20 minutes, if you've been watching this for 20 minutes. And I know that you kind of probably want to get to the end. In GitHub, I created 4 repositories, and then what happened was every time Gemini and I agreed on a change to the code, I would go and update the code. And what you do in a GitHub repository is when you commit new code, the GitHub keeps track of the changes that you made, and each one is called a commit. And the nice thing about that is if you ever make a change and you break things, you can always go back to previous commits and get back to where things worked, and then start a new branch of sorts. And what you can see here is that when I was working on the Student Entry app, I made 15 separate commits. Working on the Student Flashcards app, I made 22 separate commits. And that means that 22 changes to the code had to be made. So that is one of the reasons why it took 2 days to get this done. If we take a look at the commits, every time you do a commit, GitHub expects you to provide some comment as to why you did the commit and why you did the update. And so you can go through and you can look at each one of these. There we go. In this one, I say, I guess Gemini still had the query wrong, so we're trying again. Let me see if some of the early ones are here. The last version tried to auto-populate the select period list, but with no data in the database it couldn't. In this version, the select period list should be populated with periods 1 through 6. So again, this is just something where the code was not working, and Gemini and I worked to figure out what the problem was, and then I suggested a solution to Gemini. Gemini rewrote the code, I updated it, and we fixed one problem and were able to move forward. So anyways, that was kind of the process. One last thing that I did want to share with you is something that I found very interesting, is that I would have thought that the AI, and let me see if I can get to a screen maybe that has a background where you can see me a little bit. There we go. I would have thought that the AI would have been nearly faultless. Flawless, okay? I would have thought that the AI really knew what it was doing every step of the way. For example, I would have thought that the AI would have remembered everything that it did and would have not repeated previous mistakes, and that was just not true. What happened was, as AI continued to help me add new features or fix bugs, it would break stuff that already worked. And that was surprising to me. And that was one of the reasons why this adventure took 2 days instead of being done in an hour or so, okay? I don't know how you fix that. All I can say is this, is that for anybody that is thinking that AI, that programmers are no longer going to be required because of AI, well, guess what? that is not true today. Okay, if I did not have programming knowledge, there is no way that this app would have been finished in 2 days. I had to help Gemini a lot by reviewing the work it had done, critiquing, and providing suggestions of my own. And even the troubleshooting, the AI couldn't do all the troubleshooting on its own. A lot of times it would write code. I had to test it. I had to do the analysis of what was not working, and then I had to provide feedback to Gemini. So that was surprising to me. The other thing that was really interesting is that even though Gemini were working on this for a long time and there was a lot of changes, Gemini never suggested to me that we should keep track of versions of the code. And it didn't really even occur to me until after we had made a bunch of changes. And at some point, I determined that Gemini was adding new code that broke things that were working perfectly early on. So once I realized that was happening, I knew that I needed a way to be able to go back to what was previously working. And one of the things that would have helped that is if I could have told AI, if I could have told Gemini, hey, remember back in version 1.2, remember when you were able to save photos in the database and retrieve them from the database? Whatever method you used then was working. Now you're using a new method. It's not working. Let's go back to that method of saving and retrieving the photos, okay? And that's really interesting. I couldn't just go back to the previous commit in GitHub. I really needed for Gemini to know about one specific aspect of the code to go back to, because I wanted to retain all the other new features and bugs that it fixed, okay? So it wasn't as simple as going back to a previous version of code. That wouldn't have helped me. I would have regressed all my changes in the code. What I really needed was a way to get Gemini to go back to a specific version and extract just the parts that worked from that version and pull them in and add them to the newer code that had a lot of new features that were working just fine. So anyways, that is something that I will know now if I try to develop another app using AI, is that you have to tell the AI to assign version numbers to every iteration of the code as you're going along. And a suggestion that was given to me by a friend, Doug Stanley, thank you, Doug. A suggestion was, Doug's a full-time software developer, uses AI all the time, and uses a number of different AI engines. And he said to me that you really should work with the AI to not just keep track of versions, but to keep track of branches of the code. In other words, as you develop the code, there shouldn't just be one linear tree of new versions of code. There should actually be branches where maybe you added a new feature, here, or made a bug fix there, and it was major. And you want to be able to get back to the beginning. If something breaks, you should be able to get back to the beginning of a branch and then pick up where you left off. Okay. So anyways, that is something that I am going to need to practice in working with the AI to figure out how it can help me do that. And the website GitHub does allow you to do things like that. So it's possible that between the AI and GitHub, there is a way to track the changes and get back to previous changes for parts of the code that you'd like to fix. Okay, sorry about that. I hope that last part wasn't too boring. Anyways, that's about it. Just wanted to share, first of all, the joy in creating a new web app that's going to be useful for me in my classroom. And also, for those of you who have been wondering, when is AI going to take all of our jobs? It's not today. And the other thing is, I've read a lot about AI taking programmers' jobs. And again, even with that, I don't see that happening today. Programmers are still programmers who know what they're doing and have some experience are still needed in order to get AI to do a job and to do it well. All right, that to me is a good conclusion. Have a great day.